Shedeur Sanders isn't just fighting for a roster spot, he's fighting a system. And at the center of that system stands Kevin Stefanski, whose decision to keep Sanders behind Joe Flacco has ignited one of the most heated debates of the NFL season. The moment Stefanski told reporters that Sanders wasn't being considered for the backup role, the backlash hit instantly. Cam Newton was among the first to speak up. He accused the Browns of gatekeeping talent, saying Sanders' rise was being suppressed to protect the team's hierarchy.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Stephen A. Smith followed suit, calling the move narrative control, not football logic. Together, their voices amplified what fans had already been shouting for weeks. Something isn't right in Cleveland. The issue goes deeper than depth charts. Sanders, drafted 144th overall, came in with something most rookies don't have: momentum, fan energy, a built-in spotlight. And that, according to Smith, might be exactly what threatens the Browns' leadership. He suggested the organization isn't just hesitant about Sanders' readiness, they're afraid of his influence. Afraid that his popularity could overshadow the veterans and shift the power dynamic inside the locker room. Stefanski's handling of the situation has only fueled that narrative. His insistence on sticking with Flacco, despite ongoing offensive struggles, looks increasingly like stubbornness, or worse, image management. The optics of holding back a confident, capable young quarterback while the offense sputters are hard to defend. Fans see it. Analysts see it. And Sanders himself sees it. Sanders hasn't minced words about his frustration. He's said publicly that he's ready to start, that he can outperform some current starters in the league, and that all he needs is the chance. His confidence, instead of being celebrated, seems to have made the Browns uneasy. In a franchise already haunted by its chaotic reputation, a vocal, self-assured rookie might feel like a threat to the old order. Cam Newton pointed to that very dynamic, noting that Sanders' situation mirrors how certain players with strong personalities are often managed rather than empowered. Stephen A. Smith echoed the same sentiment, arguing that the organization's decision is more about preserving image than evaluating ability. Both believe the Browns are missing an opportunity to build around raw, emerging talent, and instead choosing to micromanage perception. Meanwhile, the public support for Sanders continues to grow. Fans are flooding social platforms, demanding Stefanski give him a shot. What began as a coaching choice has now turned into a referendum on fairness, leadership, and ego inside the organization. For Stefanski, every day of silence adds pressure. For Sanders, every practice without a promotion adds motivation. And for the Browns, every passing week without clarity adds chaos. This isn't just about one quarterback. It's about the clash between talent and control, between what's earned and what's allowed. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is testing how much truth Cleveland's system can handle. Let's not waste time sugarcoating this. The Cleveland Browns are in the middle of a full-blown quarterback controversy, and it's one they created themselves. This isn't just about a roster decision. It's about optics, ego, and a franchise choosing control over competition. When Kevin Stefanski publicly stated that Shedeur Sanders is not even being considered for the backup quarterback position, the NFL world didn't just blink, it blew up. That one sentence ignited a controversy that has gone far beyond Cleveland. Because Shedeur Sanders is not your average third-string QB. He's not some anonymous late-round pick just happy to be on a roster. He's a fifth-round rookie, yes, but one with a media presence, a fan base, and a confidence level that far outweighs his draft status. And most importantly, he's got momentum. Let's call it what it is. Shedeur Sanders is a threat to the status quo. And instead of acknowledging that, instead of giving him the space to prove himself, the Browns decided to shut it all down. Publicly. Directly. Decisively. That wasn't just a coaching decision. That was a message. A message that said, we're not interested in the noise. We're sticking with the system. A message that told fans, your support doesn't move the needle. A message that told Shedeur, wait your turn. And don't get too loud. But here's the issue with that message. It completely missed the moment. Because this isn't about a rookie trying to jump the line. This is about a player who, despite being drafted 144th overall, has captured the imagination of fans in a way that rarely, if ever, happens with someone buried at QB3. And Stefanski's flat-out denial? That was the spark. When you tell the media and the fans that a player isn't even being considered, it doesn't quiet the conversation. It throws gasoline on it. You could feel the shift immediately. Cam Newton came out swinging, calling out the decision for what it looked like. Not a football call, but an attempt to control the narrative. Newton didn't hold back. He knows what it feels like to be doubted, to be boxed out for being different, for being too confident, too visible, too outside the mold. And Shedeur? He checks every one of those boxes. Then Stephen Smith took it further. He connected the dots between Shedeur's low draft position and the perceptions surrounding his father, Deion Sanders. Smith pointed out what most people don't want to say out loud, that Shedeur's last name and public persona aren't just part of the story, they're being used against him. And now, that narrative has carried straight into the NFL. Let's break it down. Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round not because of his performance at Colorado, not because he lacked skills, but because of perception. Because some execs believed his connection to Deion would bring media attention. And instead of seeing that as a strength, they treated it as a liability. That same perception is now driving this controversy. And while the Browns may think they're just playing it safe by sticking with a veteran like Joe Flacco, what they're really doing is telling everyone they don't want to deal with what Shedeur brings to the table. It's not just the fans that see this. The media sees it. The locker room sees it. Other players around the league definitely see it. Because let's face it, when a team goes out of its way to shut down a rookie's momentum, it sends a message. Not just to that player, but to everyone watching. Don't be too confident. Don't get too popular. Don't rise too fast. And in a league that claims to reward talent, that contradiction is impossible to ignore. Let's talk about fan support, because that's one of the biggest pieces of this story. It's unprecedented for a third-string quarterback to have this kind of following. Fans are showing up for Shedeur. They're flooding social media, pushing hashtags, and calling into talk shows. They're not just asking for him to play, they're demanding it. And that pressure is only intensifying. Because every time the Browns' offense struggles, every time Flacco looks like a backup from 2016, every time the team underwhelms, the spotlight shifts right back to Sanders. Not because fans are delusional, but because the Browns haven't even tried to see what they have in him. That's what makes this different. This isn't about rushing a rookie. It's about refusing to even consider one. And that refusal is what's pushing this from a mild debate into a full-scale controversy. Now here's the thing, Sanders isn't staying silent. He's said himself that he's frustrated, that he believes he's ready, that he can outperform not just other backups, but some starters across the league. And when he says that, it doesn't sound like arrogance, it sounds like clarity. He knows he's being overlooked. And he's not afraid to say it. That confidence? It's part of what makes him a threat to the traditional hierarchy. And it's exactly why people are rallying behind him. Because Shedeur's not just waiting to play, he's calling out the fact that he should be playing. And every week he doesn't get that chance, it only strengthens the argument that something deeper is going on. So what now? The Browns are boxed in. They've made their stance clear. But the pressure is mounting, from fans, from analysts, from players, and from the media. And at some point, something has to give. If they promote Sanders now, it looks like they gave in to outside noise. If they keep him sidelined and the offense underperforms, they're going to be crucified for mismanagement. If they try to quietly trade him, they'll be accused of running from accountability. There's no clean exit here. The only move left is to face the music. Because the longer this drags on, the more it becomes about more than just Shedeur Sanders. It becomes a symbol for everything fans hate about the NFL. The politics, the favoritism, the control, the fear of change. And if the Browns aren't careful, they're going to turn a promising young quarterback into a league-wide martyr. They already lost control of the narrative the second Stefanski shut the door so publicly. Now the only thing they can do is stop pretending this isn't a real issue and start addressing it like professionals. Give the kid a shot. Let the reps speak for themselves. Let football decide. Because if Sanders gets on the field and performs the way his supporters believe he can, the Browns won't just look wrong. They'll look small. They'll look like a team more obsessed with order than results, more focused on hierarchy than evolution. And worst of all, they'll look like they missed it. Drop your thoughts below. Is this just conservative coaching or a full-on suppression of talent? Are the Browns really playing it safe, or are they playing scared? And how long before this controversy goes from hot topic to full-blown embarrassment? Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next meltdown, the next PR disaster, or the next viral NFL moment that turns a backup quarterback into the headline of the week. Because if there's one thing this league never runs out of, it's drama. And this one? It's still just heating up. This isn't a one-day headline. It's not a rookie learning curve situation. This is a slow burn that's turning into a full-blown inferno for the Cleveland Browns. And every time head coach Kevin Stefanski doubles down, he's pouring more gasoline on the fire. At this point, the controversy has transcended football. It's not just about depth charts or who gets reps at practice. It's about perception, power, and control. And the Browns are making it painfully obvious that they're more concerned with containing Shedeur Sanders than developing him. Let's not forget where this started. Sanders was drafted 144th overall, 5th round. Not because he lacked the skill set, not because he couldn't compete, but because of whispers, perceptions, politics. The idea that his last name would bring media distractions, that he'd arrive with too much heat, too much attention, too much confidence. And now, that same perception is clearly shaping how Cleveland treats him. Kevin Stefanski could have said a lot of things. He could have said Shedeur is progressing. He could have said they're excited to watch him grow. He could have left it vague, as coaches do. We'll evaluate every option, or everyone earns their place here. But instead, he said this: Shedeur Sanders is not being considered for the backup job. Not being considered. Let that sit for a moment. That wasn't a casual coaching update. That was a line in the sand. And the second he said it, the narrative changed. Suddenly, this wasn't about a rookie waiting his turn. It became about a team actively blocking his path forward. And that's where the floodgates opened. The reactions were swift and brutal. Cam Newton called it out immediately. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said what everyone was thinking, that Shedeur is being held back not because of talent, but because of who he is. Because of what he represents. And Stephen A. Smith? He went further. He laid the entire thing bare: Shedeur's draft slide, his current status, and the Browns' refusal to let him compete, all of it traced back to image control. To a league that still isn't comfortable with players who challenge the system before they're allowed to. But here's the thing: the system isn't holding up anymore. The NFL is changing. The days of keeping rookies buried for years behind aging vets are over. Today's game moves faster. Rookies step in and make impacts right away. And fans? They're smarter than ever. They see the decisions being made, and they aren't buying the excuses anymore. That's what makes this situation so volatile. Fans aren't mad that Shedeur isn't starting. They're mad that he's not even allowed to compete. They're not asking for him to leapfrog Joe Flacco just for the headlines. They're asking why a quarterback with visible upside, unprecedented fan support, and undeniable presence isn't even in the mix. And the Browns? They have no good answer. What's worse is that they keep pretending they don't hear the noise. But everyone else hears it. Every Browns tweet is filled with demands for Shedeur. Every sports debate show keeps coming back to the same question: what are they so afraid of? Is it the pressure of giving a rookie with a huge following a shot? Is it the loss of control if he becomes bigger than the franchise? Is it about Stefanski proving a point that nobody jumps the line, no matter how good they are? Because from the outside, that's exactly what it looks like. And while they dig in, Shedeur's voice gets louder. He's not begging for the opportunity, he's demanding it. He's made it clear that he believes he's better than guys currently starting in the league. That he's ready now. That he doesn't need to sit and wait for some imaginary, perfect moment. And here's the twist: the more he speaks out, the more people believe him. It's not just fans anymore. It's former players. It's analysts. It's teammates. Everyone sees what's going on. And the longer the Browns ignore it, the more it looks like willful blindness. Let's talk about the draft politics angle again, because this is the part nobody wants to say out loud. Shedeur didn't drop to 144 because of his mechanics or his stats. He dropped because teams didn't want the media attention that comes with being Deion Sanders' son. They didn't want the extra cameras. They didn't want the built-in fan expectations. They didn't want the pressure. So instead of evaluating the player, they judged the noise around him. And now, the Browns are doing the same thing. Rather than using that fan support and media presence as leverage, they're trying to silence it. They're trying to keep the focus on the veterans, on normal development, on keeping the narrative clean and controlled. But it's too late for that. The narrative has taken on a life of its own. And now we're seeing the cracks. If Flacco throws a pick, the fans boo. If the starter has a bad half, the crowd chants Shedeur's name. If the offense looks stale, analysts ask why the team won't at least try something different. The Browns backed themselves into this corner, and now they have no clean way out. If they cave and promote Shedeur, it looks like they only did it because of pressure. If they stick to their plan and the season flops, the headlines will be vicious. Browns sabotage themselves by ignoring Sanders. And worst-case scenario? They lose him. They waste his rookie year. They never give him a real shot. He gets traded. And then he shines somewhere else. Maybe even becomes the breakout star of the season. And the Browns? They become the punchline. Because this wouldn't be the first time a team failed to recognize what they had in front of them. But it might be one of the most public examples we've seen in years. This isn't going away. This isn't fading out by mid-season. This is the kind of controversy that lingers, that defines careers, that reshapes legacies. And Stefanski? He better hope he's on the right side of it. Because if Shedeur eventually gets his shot and delivers, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, the receipts are already there. That quote, that statement, that firm, not being considered line, it'll follow him forever. And for the fans, it'll be one of those moments they never let the franchise forget. This story is about more than just one quarterback. It's about how a league responds to change, how teams handle players who don't fit neatly into their outdated molds, and how long they can keep saying not yet before the fans, the media, and the players say, why not? Let's be real, this situation is spiraling. And if the Cleveland Browns think they can keep dodging accountability while Shedeur Sanders continues to sit in the shadows, they're in for a rude awakening. Because the longer this goes on, the more it's turning into a full-scale identity crisis for the entire organization. We're not just watching a quarterback get overlooked. We're watching a team actively deny its most intriguing asset because they're afraid of the attention he brings. And that fear? It's louder than anything Shedeur has said himself. Let's zoom out for a second. In the modern NFL, visibility is power. Name recognition, social media buzz, fan support, these are assets, not liabilities. Teams are desperate to build brands around personalities, especially young, confident talent who can connect with a new generation of fans. So the Browns having a quarterback like Shedeur, who comes in with all of that baked in, and choosing to ignore it, that's not just tone-deaf. It's self-sabotage. And the fans know it. Every time the Browns post anything online, it doesn't matter if it's about ticket sales, team updates, or charity work. It all gets drowned out by one question. Where is Shedeur? The replies are a constant stream of start Sanders, free Shedeur, and bench Flacco. And that pressure? It's not artificial. This isn't a media-created controversy. This is organic, fan-driven momentum. It's people who watched Sanders perform under national scrutiny in college. People who saw him lead Colorado through chaotic, high-stakes games with poise. People who know he's more than just a name or a brand. He's a quarterback who's proven he can handle pressure. And right now, the Browns are proving they can't. Because what's happening here isn't strategic. It's insecure. They're not managing a depth chart, they're managing a narrative. And the more they try to protect it, the more obvious it becomes. They don't want Shedeur to be the story. But he already is. And let's be honest, the clock is ticking. Because eventually, whether by injury, performance issues, or fan revolt, he's going to get his shot. You can't keep talent like that locked away forever. And when he finally takes the field, The entire league will be watching. Not just to see what he can do, but to see what the Browns didn't do. Because if Shedeur performs well, if he looks like the starter he's been claiming he can be, the story flips instantly. It won't be rookie proves himself. It'll be rookie was right all along. And worse? Browns held him back for no reason. That's the kind of PR disaster you don't recover from. And if he gets that chance on another team, if they trade him or let him walk, you can start printing the headlines now. Cleveland fumbles the future. Shedeur's breakout season, without the Browns. Another talent wasted in Cleveland. Because at this point, that's the risk they're playing with. This isn't about reps in practice. This is about the franchise's entire approach to leadership, to culture, to adaptability. The Browns are holding on to an outdated idea that rookies need to be humbled, silenced, and slotted in quietly. That no one is bigger than the team. That a fifth-rounder can't leapfrog a vet without disrupting the sacred balance of the locker room. But the game has changed. And the players know it. Shedeur isn't trying to be bigger than the team. He's trying to be part of the team, on the field where it counts. He's asking for what every athlete wants, a chance to prove himself. And the Browns, right now, are telling him, and everyone watching, that confidence is a threat. That ambition needs to be managed. That hype needs to be shut down. And when that's the stance you take, you're not just controlling a player, you're controlling the entire narrative of your franchise. You're saying that your system matters more than results. That hierarchy matters more than merit. That silence is safer than potential. But here's the truth they don't want to face. Shedeur Sanders is not going to fade quietly into the background. He's not going to accept not being considered as a final answer. He's not built for silence. And the fans aren't either. They've seen what's happening. They're not confused. They're angry. And if the Browns keep ignoring that energy, it's not just Shedeur who's going to leave. It's the fans, the faith, and the future of this team. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the Browns give Shedeur his shot now before it's too late? Or is this a ticking time bomb the franchise can't defuse? And don't forget to subscribe, because when this blows up, and it will, you'll want to be here for every second of it. Stay tuned. This saga isn't over. Not even close.